This is Bob DeBoo here with the Building Blocks of Bass. Happy to be here representing Open Studio. If you're, well, we're going to wait for a few people to come in, of course, but I just want to give you a heads up on what we're working on today. If you go to the Building Blocks of Bass Facebook group, you can find a chart of everything that we're going to get into today. So if you're watching this later on, you can go there and get a good chart on everything that we're doing today. So we're going to talk about working with the metronome today, and we're going to make it really interesting. There's a conception that doing stuff with the metronome can be, really boring or tedious, and to a certain degree, it can be. But I think it's how you integrate it into your practice and what you're thinking about that can make it really interesting and help you to develop your internal time. So I just wanted to show everybody today some of the stuff that I like to do that was taught to me. This is nothing new, of course, but I think, working with the metronome really helped develop our internal time and doing it in a musical fashion. Today we're going to work on a blues by Tane Watts called Blue Tane, which is a really cool and easy blues. So not many people play it though. It's super simple. It's like three phrases repeated over and over. But it's a really good one to check out. And if my screen goes, I apologize. I'm trying to figure that out. I'll turn it back on if the screen goes away. Still working out the kinks. But again, if you're just joining us, my name is Bob DeBoo. This is the Building Blocks of Bass, and we're going to talk about some fundamentals in this series. We've talked about playing triads, playing chromatic scale, playing some bebop ideas, some walking lines, and today we're going to try to integrate some of that into playing a blues, Blue Tane, with the metronome. So let's just get into it, okay? So I've got my metronome here. I typically use one that's on my phone. I prefer this one called Time Guru. It's got a lot of great features. You can get it to drop in and out. You can really manipulate the time a bunch, different time signatures, and then also really, really slow tempos, which is what we're gonna. All right, come on, Epoch Cam, don't fail me now. We just restarted this job. So let's get started. Here, this is what, before we turn on the metronome, let's check out what we're going to learn. Now, if this is something you already know, that's great. This is a really simple blues written by Tane Watts called Blue Tane. You hear Branford. It's on Branford's albums. It's on Tane's albums. David Kikowski has an album that they do this on. It's really cool. It's an F blues. And let's just learn the pitches really quick before we get started. So it starts on an A. Right, so that's with this root here. And it goes to the 4 chord. That's the second time, right? So back to the 1. It's going to go to the 2. So it's that phrase 3 times. So if you've got your bass, play it. And notice where the articulations are too. So if it starts like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. There's also this little dip going from the A. You'll always hear like Branford plays. Short, short, long. So that's an important part of the articulation of this. So just as a different visual representation, real quick, this is the melody. It's a blues. It's 12 bars, so it's 3 phrases of 4 bars, but it's the exact same phrase 3 times. So it's a really, really simple way to keep that all together. You see, it's the same thing, just repeated. Okay? So hopefully that's under your fingers. That's a pretty easy phrase just to have. But now the part that we're going to talk about today is how to practice with the metronome, right? So I've chosen for us today, we're going to practice it at 120 beats per minute. And what we're going to do with this is kind of laid out this way. So we're going to set our metronome at 120, and I'll go ahead and crank her up here. So I don't like to put any divisions. Sometimes you'll get an accent on beat 1, or you can move it around. You know what I'm saying? I like to make them all the same pitch for my metronome. It's just a personal preference. Maybe check it out if you like. But what we're going to do is play the melody 2 times through, play a 2 feel 2 times through, then go into walking, and then do some soloing. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move the metronome down and get less information from the metronome. But let's get started. Let's go through, get warmed up. So we'll do the melody 2 times through, and then we'll do the 2-feel, walking, and a solo. And this is an F blues, okay? So let's try it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. One more time. So that's the melody 1 time through. Let's do it one more time. 2, 3, 4, 1. Da, dee, da, do. You could be doing this up an octave if you want. I'm just putting it here. One more time. That'll be the end of this blues phrase. 1. Short, short, long. Now let's go into a 2-feel. Trying to stay right down the center of the beat, right? Now you're probably used to playing with the metronome on all 4 beats, or maybe you do 2 and 4 like a lot of people do, and we're going to do that in a second. But get really comfortable with internalizing this time. That sounds good, Stella. Thank you. That was Stella, y'all. That's my 4-year-old. She's just used to hearing the bass. How about it for Stella? Let's go into walking. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to get really used to this quarter note, because when we go through it again, we're going to take away some of the information. I see a love, that must have been for Stella. I feel the same way. So just try to get in the pocket. So this is some of the stuff that we talked about too in the previous building blocks of bass sessions. Oh, I'm gonna mess up while I talk. So the chromatic movement. So let's just take a solo. Let's take 1 chorus. Okay, so that's the layout of what I want to do, right? I did say, repeat this stuff 2 times, but we may nix that just as we're practicing for the sake of time. So, but the idea is we're at 120. We're going to play the melody. Again, this is blue tane. We're going to do a 2-feel, and then walking, and then solo. But what I want to get into, really the focus of today, is to get less information from the metronome and really develop it in our internal clock, right? So that's the idea. So we're really going to play at the same tempo, but we're going to get now just the metronome on 60. So it's going to be beats 2 and 4 instead of all 4 beats, right? So this is 60, but you can still hear that same division. So this is like the hi-hat. And if you've been playing for a while, you're probably used to that. That's nothing new. But we want to get really comfortable doing this, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, melody. And hear the division as it's going. Da, da, ba, ba, ba. And you can say it however you like, it's the... Let's just go into the 2-feel now for the sake of time. F blues. Trying to stay right in the center of the beat. And this is meant to emulate the hi-hat, of course, right? the two feel. And try to, get comfortable dancing with it, because when we take the metronome slower, that's one of the harder things to really get comfortable with for me and not rush. Let's go into walking. This is especially good in these days when we can't play with a lot of drummers, right? Our second course of walking. Let's go into the solo now, but be really cognizant of where the metronome is giving you. Cool. So I just wanted to do one time through on that one so that we can move on to our next division. Again, we're doing all of this, if you're just catching up, we're doing all of this at 120, and we're slowly going to start taking away the information that we're getting from the metronome with the point of solidifying this tempo internally ourselves, and eventually we're going to just get rid of the metronome altogether so we can really try to feel where that 120 is, and this is a common tempo, so you for sure want to have this under your belt. Again, if you're just joining us, we're doing blue tane. This is the great Jeff Tane Watts. If you don't know Tane, you need to look him up. I mean, world famous drummer. This is his blues, blue tane. Super easy, like simplistic, but really like catchy, right? I remember hearing this a long time ago, being way into it. And now we're going to use our metronome to get half that information. So we began, again, here is what we've been up to. So if you read this little middle text, this is kind of confusing if you're just checking all this out. But the metronome set to 120 at all 4 beats. That was the first time through that we did. And then we just did beats 2 and 4 at 60. The metronome is at 60, but we're calling that beats 2 and 4. And again, I don't like to accent either of the beats, any of the beats, so that I can just make it an even keel and call it whatever I want to. It gets kind of tricky if you put an accent in, Maybe you could try it that way. So, and now we're going to do 30 beats per minute, okay? And just call it beat 1. And then we'll also do something else with this too. So this is what 30 sounds like. And if you were just starting off here, this might seem really slow, and especially if you're trying to play quarter notes against this might seem really slow. Now when I'm practicing like this, or I'm practicing melodies and I'm trying to practice with the metronome, it's really, it can be a trick to not want to rush or drag, especially when I'm not playing quarter notes. So the melody is really integral here, to hear the melody, in a rhythmic fashion against this. So now this is beat 1. 1. 1. So when you set this, you could start that way, 1, and try to hear it 1, 1, just in a circular motion, 1, 1, right? Okay, so hear half that, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, let's do the melody, 1, 2, 3, go. Now this is crucial to hear this space. Right, try to make it feel good. 2, 3, go. So when players are playing and relieving that space, this time is still happening. 2 feel. So we're trying to lead towards beat 1. more time through the 2 feel. And you can play this less busy, of course. If you really just want to play 1 and 3, you could do that. Let's do it in 4 now. And really try to land in the center of that beat. Without really, I'm not trying to think about accenting it. Let's do it one more time through. Remember, all these notes are long. Let's take a chorus of solo now this way. Come on, Deepak. So all that should still be lined up and hearing the phrase towards beat 1, right? Whether you're walking, playing the melody. And it goes without saying, of course, like if we're, as bass players, we should be able to play the melody. As bass players, we should be able to play the melody, right? And then be able to, of course, do our role. But by knowing the melody, it's going to help us do our role better, if that makes sense. Like when you're playing in a 2 feel, when you're walking, when you're soloing, you want to have that melody imbued in what you're doing still, you know, to not play a different song while you're being an accompanist, right? So that was with the metronome on 30 on beat 1, right? So now this is another fun way to do this. You can move that around. Let's call this beat 4 now. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear that? 4. You could start, if you have trouble doing this, you could think of 4, 4. Just start there and call it 4. Then find a half of that. 2, 4, 2, 4. Or sometimes you could do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1. But it's a good way to hear like the back end of that measure. So let's try the same thing, calling this beat 4 now. Okay? So we'll do the melody, then we'll play a 2 feel, then we'll walk, and then we'll take a solo. Okay? You feel that beat? 1, da 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 da. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Filling up the melody. But you want it to be right in the pocket and leave some space too. Two feel. It's important to say too, when we're practicing this way, to try to imagine you're performing, not practicing. As in practice like you would play. Go into walking. So you feel that pull towards 4? It's really really nice to do. I really like practicing with the metronome on 4. We'll try that chorus again. So we're still trying to stay down the middle of the beat. The metronome is just helping us stay accountable. So let's take a chorus of blowing now. It's important too to think, like as we're playing with the metronome, staying really inside of the pocket, of course, and not trying to push or pull too much. But then when you get comfortable doing that, you totally can, play ahead of the beat if you want to, or kind of lay some phrases back, especially when we're soloing. That can be hip. And another thing to think about, just walking, it can be, you can play with a metronome, you can play with your feel a little bit easier. I think with a metronome like this, where it's slower, it's giving you less information, and you have to provide the information in between these beats, right? So if we call this 4 again, I'm just going to walk for a minute. 1, 2, 1, 2, D. So you can think about your placement. If you want to push a little bit, but try not to get too ahead of it. You can overdo this for sure too. The real goal is to stay right down the middle of the beat. I mean, not the real goal, but you should be able to do it. I'll never watch this back, so I won't ever have to hear that again. Right, no, I'm just kidding. So, I'm just encouraging you to be playful, like when you're practicing, and do it as if you're performing, as in, like, maybe the gig calls for you to do this. And if the gig calls for you to do that, right? But not too often. Or maybe towards the beginning of you're just getting into the song. Maybe that makes sense. So be cool with that, but then also start to break it up a little bit and have some fun and, get playful. It's important. So now we're going to take it to the next logical step. We were at 30, and now we're going to put it at 15. So if we were just at 30 on beat 1 of every measure, now 15, we're still at 120. Except now we're playing the first beat. We can call it the first beat of every 2 measures. So let's hear that. 1. 1. So start to hear that subdivision. It's the same tempo that we were doing, right? 2, 3, 4. 2 da 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 da. So let's try the melody. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Let's do it one more time. Got ahead of it. And I see that there's comments too. I've not said anything about it, but please leave a comment. Ask a question. I'll address all of that after I'm done this practicing, which is going to come up real soon. Going to walking. Da, 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 da. I'm already at it. One more time. Come on, camera. For sure the idea is to make mistakes. I'm not shy. Everybody's heard me make mistakes. I've heard me make mistakes. So let's make them. I'm going to take a chorus of solo now. So I got ahead of the beat there, and I've got no qualms about that. I mean, sometimes it'll push, but it helps us to stay grounded. And just like what we were doing when we were at 30 beats per minute, you can call this beat 4, even at 15. So let's try that for a second. Let's just hear that groove first. So it's the same tempo, of course. We've just divided the tempo into 4. And again, this is what that's looking like. We started at 120, played the melody, 2 feel, walking, took a solo. Metronome at 120, and first it was all 4 beats, then beats 2 and 4, and then at 30, at beat 1, we also did it at beat 4, and then at 15, with beat 1 of every 2 measures. We can call this beat 4 of every 2 measures too. Kind of hip. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Right? Like that? Going to walking. So that should land on 4. And if it doesn't, you just adjust. Nobody really wants, you don't want to have metronomic time, but you want it to feel good, and you don't want to rush or drag too much. You want to have good time. But you want to be flexible in that too. Like if the drummer is playing ahead, or the drummer gets a little faster, or if you do, or if somebody else does, it's okay. So, and I mentioned that it's really important to do this without the metronome, right? So have it internalized now. We should know 120 really well at this point. So let's see if we can hear that without the click. You could maybe go further, put it at 7.5. Yeah, Chris Potter. You could go further maybe, but let's hear that tempo. Can you still hear the beat? It's about there, right? Let's do it together. So 1, 2, 1, 2, melody, go. So in your head, hear that beat. It's really important to practice without a metronome. Because when you're playing, without playing with the metronome, right? So let's see how close we were to that tempo that we started at. It feels similar, right? It's at least in the ballpark. Cool. So that was good practicing. I encourage you to do that with everything. You know, like you can, if you took this a step further, you could call, and I like to do this too, if you're working on odd time signatures, any other type of feel too. Three, four, five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, da, da, da. You could call that 5. You can divide this in a bunch of different ways. You could make it 7. You could make it in 3. So by getting less information from your metronome, that's what I'm saying, you can divide it in different ways. So that's how I like to practice with the metronome, and I think it's fun and creative, and it's it's just what I like to do. So anyways, I'm gonna hop into the comments, see if there's anything we can talk about. I'm excited to see who's here. Yeah, I already saw one, the end of 2 and 4. I knew I left that out, and I knew somebody called me on that. So go, go, go. What's up? I don't know how to say your name, so I'm not gonna mispronounce it, but tick-tock, tick-tock. I hope you stuck around. So while we're checking out the comments here too, we need to address that Christian McBride has a new course out on Open Studio called Your Sound is Your Signature, and it's incredible. So if you've not checked it out, you absolutely need to, like, ASAP. It's a really modest price, but the content that you get is incredible. I know I've seen it like at least 4 times through now, at least. I have some involvement with it too. I do some guided practice sessions with it, but that's not why anybody's buying it. I mean, it's Christian McBride talking about, like, giving his secrets to the bass and thinking about harmony, and having some really cool discussions with the legendary drummer Carl Allen. So, I mean, some of the first albums that I ever heard, Benny Green, Testifying, you know, stuff like that with Carl Allen and Christian, you know, and here they are talking together. So highly, highly recommended. Your Sound is Your Signature. And if you like that, there's also the Fundamentals of Jazz Bass, another course that he did with Open Studio. Both super recommended. And honestly, any course with Open Studio. Ruben Rogers has some incredible content. Gregory Hutchison. I mean, the list just goes on and on. So highly, highly recommended. So let's see. Tony, thanks, Bob. I'm a singer who is a pianist. Love this lesson. Great. That's really cool, Tony. Thanks for checking it out, saying something. My friend Selmer Paris is back. Hi, Stella. I wonder how she got her name. There you go. So everybody asks if she's named after Stella by Starlight. So I'll just give you a little personal thing here, because there's not too many people left watching stuff. But her middle name is Ruby, actually. And so we didn't name her Stella because of Stella by Starlight, but her middle name is based off of Ruby My Dear, the great Thelonious Monk song. So I had to push for that. So actually, she's not named for Stella by Starlight. She's heard it a bunch, but very cool. Yeah, and she made a guest appearance, so go back and check it out. Drum Lechuga. Excellent, bro. Cool. Very cool. So, you know, if you're a drummer and you find some bass players that are doing this online, hook up, right? You can do this. Let's see. That's like practicing with the Philly Joe rim shot on 4. Yeah, it's totally really similar, right? Yeah, that's for real a thing. Hey, I know, Mark. On the and of 4, absolutely. You know, and I saw that as I was just popping in. We'll do that another time, Mark, for sure. But that's, I mean, you can of course put the on the and of 4 is great, and a 2. You can put it anywhere, obviously. You know, if you're playing more like pocket feel, like if you can do this with electric, put it on 3. That's fun too, you know, because that feels like a big backbeat type of thing. But in this lesson, I didn't do the end of 4. Good call. So that is a common thing to do, though. That's very, of course, highly recommended. Let's do that. Here's my pops. Thanks, Dad. Andreas, I'm playing the piano while you're practicing and teach this. It's fun. Oh, sweet. Hey, man, that's really cool. I got to bring you in as a guest sometime, Andreas. We could do this together. That would be dope. So, yeah, you know, bass players, we're out here trying to do it. So, and of course, Open Studio, plug in the Christian McBride course. Very subtle. Just kidding. Michael Crane. Yeah, metronome at 15 every 2 measures is tough for sure. It can take some time to work her up. Again, I like to just, you know, like be really, or like try to be open about it. I won't try to like force it. And when you change this metronome click too, if you've been at 120 like we've been for a while, and then you bump it to like 115, it feels super funky, especially when you get to like the slower divisions. But again, just try to be open and hear like the middle of this. So I try to find 1, and you just get close and you adjust. 1, 1, 1, 1. So I'm trying to hear it. 1, 1, 1. Right? I think that helps, you know, for sure. And you're absolutely right. It just takes some adjusting. So, yeah. Mark, it is Time Guru, which I think is a fantastic app. I don't deal with them at all. I just love their app. I've had their app a long time. It's got this super cool function. It's got a bunch of cool functions, but you can do a thing where you randomly mute clicks, which is super cool. So like if I'm going at like 120, it will start taking beats away. It'll still keep that 120 going. Oh, I see one of the comments, Chris H, who talks about this. So this app does that, honestly. Takes away the click, right? And he's referencing the Fundamentals of Jazz Bass course, so that's bonus points. So I really like Time Guru for doing just like that, for taking out the beats there. Cool, thanks Patrick. Oh, awesome, appreciate that. Yes, and here's what I was just talking about as I was playing that. Christian talks about cutting a metronome in and out as you play, and it's totally hard to do that by yourself. Maybe you get a foot switch or something like that. But with, you know, I'm not trying to sell any more apps for Time Guru, but I'm sure there's other apps that do it. But it's a good one, and it'll just slowly you can get it to gradually take away beats. It's also good for different subdivisions, and it sounds like I'm trying to. Yep, that app just answered my questions. There you go. Okay, so functionism. Putting in the subdivisions makes it much easier to feel 15. For sure. Yeah. So I think what we're talking about is the same thing, where it's like, here's 1 and trying to feel the middle of that. I try to feel it like kind of in a circular motion, or like, I don't know, I don't want to get too far into it, but it's either here or it's here, and this is half of the division, if that makes sense. So I think the subdivision, that's what you're talking about. Yeah. Because if you just put on 15, I mean, out of the blue, you're like, when is that about to drop? You know, so you need to know. And, you know, I've heard about drummers practicing with in soloing, not particularly thinking about like every beat, or really, you know, dividing the time completely, you know, but feeling towards 1. Do you know what I mean? And I think that really plays into this too. I'm not saying drummers are playing out of time. I'm really not. But I think playing towards the 1 and phrasing towards the 1 is a really, you know, a really common thing to practice, and a really obviously good thing to practice, especially as a bass player, because that's where we're trying to get our phrases to move towards. Everything walking wise, we're trying to move the beat ahead, keep that momentum going. Oh, that app, yep. All right, I'm gonna have to hit them up, ask for some points on that app. Mark Saltman, cool, yeah, love this app. It's great, right? Excellent, tell them Bob sent you. Cool, so I think that's all we've got time for today. So thanks for joining me. Please check out the other guided practice sessions that we have. You can find them on Open Studio's YouTube channel. Go check out all the courses at Open Studio because they are fantastic. And of course, check out Christian McBride's Your Sound is Your Signature course. So much good information in there. And if you like what we do here, I do guided practice sessions where we talk about stuff directly related to the course. And for anybody that's here that might be signed up for the boot camp that starts this Saturday, I'm super stoked. We're going to get in some fun stuff and really, you know, like send some love towards Christian. So please join us. We're here each and every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central. And yeah, that about does it. So join the Facebook group too, Building Blocks of Bass Facebook group, and we can talk more about stuff there too. But peace. See you next time. Bye.